Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. D stands for evil.
I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have a return to the Won't Think Straight saga, Guardian. So, yeah, Guardian, it's by Won't Think Straight on Reddit NoSleep. You can check it out there, along with all the other Won't Think Straight stories. This is the guy that basically, he didn't believe in supernatural until he came face to face with one.
Wow.
now he's trying to show the world that his life is actually really weird. Or the world around him is really weird.
Mm-hmm.
As his eyes opened up to it. Started with that trip to Vietnam. And he saw the poop ghost.
Oh yeah, the toilet ghost. It wasn't poop; it was toilet. It was stocked in the toilet.
It was a toilet ghost. Yeah,
it was toilet, a poop adjacent ghost.
Yeah, the toilet ghost.
Mm-hmm. We're really doing him dirty, describing shit like this.
Oh man, yeah,
that was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I actually really like that one. Again, we really like these ones. It's just we've been doing them for a while. They go. I think it's 14 stories, and I think we're on maybe the 11th or 10th.
We're on 12th.
Are we on the 12th one? Okay. I was close.
This is one of the few things I'm actually keeping track of.
All right. So, before we get too far ahead, though, we should give our initial recommendations and such for Guardian. I'm going to recommend it.
I'm going to partially recommend.
I'll recommend this one.
All right. Well, let's check out why we gave those recommendations, or partial recommendations, and see if anything changes. Starting with the rundown. So, Won't Think Straight has a new story to tell, this time about his great-grandmother, a long-lived woman of 106. WTS, as I'll be calling him for the short form, is among the few people she actually likes these days, though sadly she recently passed. But before that, she passed on the secret of her longevity to WTS. You see, great-grandma Cassandra was known by people as Cassandra the Blessed, or the Cursed, depending on your point of view. Throughout her life, she had narrowly avoided life-threatening tragedies, disasters, and accidents. How? She would see a creepy tall man with shark teeth at various moments in her life, beckoning to her. And in these instances, she would always flee the other way rather than approach. Only to find out later that the bus she might have taken, the trip she might have gone on, etc., had ended in the deaths of the others involved in those trips or situations. This all started when she first saw the man digging a large hole in the yard of her family home, a hole that no one else could see. And to that point, actually, no one has ever seen the man. It's only been great-grandma Cassandra. Since then, she has always had 2 Rottweilers by her side as she sleeps. She told this story in that same bed on the eve of her birthday party to her favorite great-grandson, WTS, who left that night never to see her alive again. They found Cassandra half-eaten and with a broken neck. This whole matter, amidst his grief, has left WTS now to wonder about great-grandma Cassandra's guardian, and if he was, in fact, in the room that night when she told him the story. So yeah, that's basically the quick and dirty for Guardian. And I suppose we'll move on to everyone tolerates the Grand Inquisitions at this point. And I've got a couple. Gonna start with this one here. She had a story tell, and I felt that like this audience would appreciate it. So I feel like it should read: she had a story to tell, and I felt that this audience would appreciate it.
Yeah.
So added to, and then also removed that like.
Yes, it seems smoother that way.
Yeah. And then my last one, actually my only other one I have is this one here. Feeling vulnerable and unsure if she was going crazy, she stood as far away as possible, desperately counting down the hours for the bus would arrive. So at the end there, I think it should actually be counting down the hours till the bus would arrive.
Or the bus to arrive?
Yeah, I was also considering that as well, but then I added the till, like hours till the bus would arrive, because like that also worked. But also, yeah, till the bus. Yeah, like I guess the other way around it would be counting down the hours for the bus to arrive would also work as well. Those are both, I feel like, adequate improvements. But yeah, that's it for grammar inquisition for me. So, Mikey, these stands for evil.
I have a junction.
I kind of suspected.
It's
All right.
And next stop, Conjunction Junction. Doot, doot.
been a while since I've written, but my great-grandmother Cassandra recently passed away. It's as if, in defiance, she smoked like a chimney, drank like a sailor, ate like a glutton, and did all those things that were supposed to be bad and send you to an early grave. But when she loved you with all her heart. And she was Cassie the Cursed. But only after the party was finished and we were alone. It was about long ago, one summer's night when she was asleep in that very bed. It was a bad dream and nothing more. And she had Rottweilers sleeping with her ever since. And she saw the stranger laugh, then sink those teeth into the passenger beside him. It was hit by the westbound Santa Fe mail train number 7, killing 21 people. Because the stranger was always waiting for her. And until she relented, he kept extracting payment from those around her. And I think it's time for you to go home. It's time now. It's been a few weeks. It helps to think that it is my duty to tell her story, as I was the only person to hear the last words she ever spoke. And to stop thinking that maybe that fateful night in her room we weren't alone. And that those last words she uttered were not meant for me, Finn.
Wow. That was very disjointed. Like early on, it felt like it was like you're gonna like it was gonna dive into like a it's like she smoked like a chimney that would like an early grave. But when she loved you with all your heart, and then she took me to her bedroom. I was like, what? Where's this going? Oh God. And then it didn't go anywhere like that at all, thankfully. And it went to like just a more disjointed version of the story. And then her last words, the words that weren't meant for WTS, but were meant perhaps for the stranger. And it was time to go.
For those unaware, Mikey grabs all the sentences, through a story that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ends, or buts, because there's always better words to use.
Indeed. So Gamer.
You actually didn't get any grammar stuff.
Okay. Then I suppose we shall move on to actual thoughts. I'm going to start with the first sentence here. We're off to a great start with this story, by the way.
Of course.
And it's been a while since I've written about my great-grandmother Cassandra recently passed away. And it's been a while. So as soon as
I didn't see that coming. Like, why didn't I see that coming?
As soon as the story started, like it's like with it, it's been a while, I immediately jumped into, and it's been a while by Nickelback.
sing the entire story as you were reading it then?
God, no. It was just that like that first bit, I was like, wow, we're off to a great start. I'm already like singing. I'm already referencing a song. But no, back to the more serious stuff of the story. So got this quote here. Halfway through their trip, they were scheduled to fly to London via Dublin. Arriving at the airport in good spirits, Cassie stopped short of the airline counter and suggested to Peter they should stay another day. Didn't we just read this story? Distorted warning signals?
Yeah, we did.
Like, no bullshit. I didn't know what this story was gonna be about when I chose it to to be the next story in our lineup. So I did not know that we were going to inadvertently kind of have two relatively similar or like connected stories via like the circumstances or like the situation of having a guardian angel or like avoiding death basically story.
It's kind of the same.
It's very similar, but like this one goes in a lot more detail on like some of the tragedies, and actually I'll get into that in this. Yeah, actually into my next comment here, which is during the time of like when they're visiting the Empire State Building. A plane had crashed into Empire State Building, sending the elevator crashing down 75 floors. 14 people died in the upper levels from the accident. So first off, grammar acquisition, just a brief one, into the Empire State Building. But also, wait, is this a real event? Looked it up on Wikipedia. Yep, the 1945 Empire State Building B-25 crash. They even like explained in the story, it says that it was a really foggy day, so they wouldn't have seen much in there. And the cause, the primary suspected cause of the crash in real life was that it was incredibly foggy, and so it couldn't get through to like LaGuardia. And it ended up crashing into the Empire State Building. And it killed 14 people on the 75th floor.
Jeez.
So yeah, and checking the other instances that are in this story, including the flight that we just mentioned, all of these seem to be real events that MTS's great grandmother avoided. Like I kept looking them up, and I kept like punching in the number, like punching in the dates, punching in the incident and like where it happened, and yeah, sure enough, there was a tragic event that happened on those dates.
Jeez.
So it was like, wow, this story is like pulling from like historical tragedy.
Version right there, I guess.
Yeah. It's like one of them is like we were planning on taking a nice trip to Canada to Halifax, and we're just like, no, we shouldn't go this time. And then that was when the Halifax explosion happened. That's not in the story, but like that's like one of the ones that like I guess like I could see like being added.
We should take a trip to Chernobyl. Nah. Blows up.
Yeah. Well, it didn't blow. Well, it technically didn't blow up. It just melted down, which is kind of worse.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I
know. But I'll move on to the next thing I have here. My friend Steve jokingly calls her Schrodinger's grandma. He has a semi-serious theory that Cassie was a localized quantum probability wave function singularity. Someone that sucked up all the good luck around her. Nature would have to then compensate by pushing bad luck to everyone else, filling in the void and restoring equilibrium. This sounds, yet again, very similar to the Final Destination situation that we kind of brought up like last time. But also, when we got to this part, like this theory that Steve brought up, and Steve is actually from one of the other stories that WTS has written about. The whole like idea of like her being like a localized quantum probability wave function singularity, the basically drawing in all the good luck and then like the world having to like create an equilibrium, is almost like the magic system in the Russian urban fantasy novel Night Watch by Sergei Lukyanenko, where magic or like the use of like supernatural elements, or like when like there's two supernatural like factions, like the light ones and the dark ones, And basically, whenever the light ones like use like positive magic or good magic and stuff like that to help people and stuff, the dark side basically gets to use an equal amount of dark magic in response.
So it's Star Wars.
It's sort of like that. It's more of like kind of like using I guess like almost like a karma system. Like for every action there is a reaction. Like every time the light ones use like strong amounts of magic, the dark ones get to use like dark magic on the world. Whenever the dark magic or users get to like use magic for their own gain, the light ones get to create miracles.
Yeah.
And there's also been a bunch of stuff where like there's like basically like misfortune or like bad luck storms that form around people around certain people, like kind of in like the same situation as is sort of theorized for Grandma Cassie here. Basically like there's just this like maelstrom where like they're at the focal point and everything around them is like is terrible because like they're basically like causing this like negative energy wave to be like released. But yeah, it kind of reminded me of that kind of like magic system from that series.
Basically, the world would be fine if just no one used magic.
Well, no, it's not even that because like it's like it's not even like just like magic users. It's basically like because like magic is also like tied to like how like people who turned into like supernatural beings like vampires and werewolves and like shapeshifters and stuff like that. So like it's unfortunate, like it's there is no real like middle ground for it. Like it's just a thing that happened long ago, and now like the world deals with this by like having these two opposing factions. Like it would be like yes, people could technically like just not use magic, and then the world might be better. But the world would also be blander for that because there would be no miracles, there would be no terribleness. It would just be kind of blah. It'd just be like a terrible gray.
Yeah, but you have a terrible gray with no like. It'd be balanced, as you said, because like there'd be no extremely horrible things, but no extremely nice things as well.
Well, it's not even just like it's not even extreme stuff. It's like also like normal stuff you couldn't do.
I think miracles are an extreme niceness.
No, but like
And
I mean,
evil
like
people casting like evil magic and shit is like extreme badness
it's also,
of like murder.
It's also like small miracle stuff. So like yeah, we wouldn't have like we may not have fear in that world, but then we wouldn't have hope. It's like that kind of equilibrium.
We have both of those right now in our real world where we don't have magic.
Are you sure that we don't have magic?
No.
And that's I think that's kind of where it's sort of getting at in that series is like there is this like secret society or the secret world.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I've never heard about that before.
Yeah, I know. But I think just like as a way of explaining, like basically like when you're having a bad day and they're like, oh well, your bad day is probably because there's a vampire nearby that's siphoning all the good luck around, or like causing a hex or a curse or something like that. Or like,
Okay.
oh, you have a good day. Oh, that's because you're in the proximity of like a miracle worker. But yeah, yeah. I'm oversimplifying,
Of course.
but I digress. Gonna move on to the next thing I have here. The bus was later found stopped at a rail crossing 12 miles south of Albuquerque. It was hit by the westbound Santa Fe mail train number 7, killing 21 people. And so like I read this one and then I typed in the same like kind of information on Google and like, wow, this one too, typing in the date and train description brought me to a goddamn archived newspaper article from the New York Times. Like it's just like almost deep cuts of like tragic events or like accidents or like situations that happened. And then we get this part here. She was Cassie the Blessed, people would think. She must have a guardian angel. She was Cassie the Cursed, she knew, because the stranger was always waiting for her. And until she relented, he kept extracting payment from those around her. So I like the setup here. The use of historic tragedies and accidents is interesting and also kind of impressive, just like of like how accurate, so, like, or like, because again, like when I first started reading these, I was like, wait, there's a lot of detail here for like this one incident, and then you type in those details, and it is actually an event that you can pull up on Google, like from like records and stuff like that. And given the number used and how some of these are like just deep cuts, I think part of why this doesn't bug me as much as it has in other stories, because we've had other creepypastas that like pull from real tragedies, and I've kind of gotten a wiggy feeling about it. Like there's one with a caver, that was like 10 years ago, like the incident. I think for the case of these ones, like the tragedies there's a gap between like then and now for most of these tragedies. Like they're all fairly older historical tragedies, like in the 20th century.
Kind of glossed over. It's not like it's not held on.
Yeah, like the whole story isn't about that, and about
Yes.
about somebody in that. And so it's just about like like the person. Also, this person isn't like. The story also, I feel the story kind of subtly insinuates that like, or like kind of leaves it up in the air about like exactly like how involved the supernatural is in causing these events. Like to me, it never really kind of felt like the creature was doing these events or was causing these events like directly, but they were just kind of like hanging around waiting for the victims so that it could feed on that, kind of like a Reaper spirit in Shadowrun. Sorry.
Yeah.
Where like they are a spirit, and as described in the in the Running Wild supplement of 4th edition Shadowrun, page blah blah blah. Reaper spirits are basically spirits that like linger around hospitals or like places of like large death or like of a dramatic death and stuff like that, or tragic deaths, feeding on the death energy of those places. And that's kind of what I got the impression of this thing. And this thing just decided to like make itself known to this one girl, this lady, and just kind of like followed along. And it like if it can't get her because it's for some reason infatuated with her, it's just gonna feed off of like the souls that were affected by the accidents and such.
Maybe like you said, it's just always going around to these horrible events, but because of the bad luck of her, like he knows that she's not supposed to be part of this, like the first time, but she kept showing up, so she's just like I think that's also why this isn't creepy like some of the creepy is a bad term for it. Why it's not like skeevy. Yeah, because it's not saying, oh, these real life tragedies were caused by the supernatural. It's saying these real life tragedies happened and this supernatural creature saved this one woman from these tragedies happening, because it doesn't outwardly say that the creature's doing it.
Yeah, like that could also be like why it's actually like attracted to her, is that it's sort of the both things. Like she is a sort of a magnet to these tragedies, like these things that are going to happen, like these she is literally the embodiment of wrong place, wrong time. But and this creature, this entity, this supernatural entity has like taken note of that from her, like off of her spirit or her soul. And so that's why it makes itself known to her. And it's also allowing her to avoid disaster by like when she sees this thing, she sees this wrong thing beckoning her to come closer, she goes the other way, and in so doing basically averts her own disaster, but doesn't like warn anybody about the impending disasters that are happening. And then this creature just feeds off of the disaster that happens.
Even if she did try to warn the people, they wouldn't listen to her because she'd just sound like a crazy person.
Exactly. That's sort of the horror of skepticism, is like, even if you have these gifts, like what are the chances people are going to actually take you seriously? Because like you're one person that's spouting nonsense. So yeah, like people need to have like need to like see to believe kind of thing. For the most part. So and that's again the horror of it, is like, because like it's not even like the boy who cried wolf kind of situation, except it's like that, but like very like sudden, like kind of like just compress that story. The moral of that story is like the way our world works and the way people work is like one person spouting something that doesn't seem right to everybody else. They're not going to believe that person until tragedy strikes. And even then, they might just talk about an accident. So
that being said, considering this keeps happening to her, she could get well enough known in the area that if she says don't do something, they'd be like, okay, you know what, fine.
Well, to a degree, that actually is happening in the story. It's just people are just kind of like chalking it up as like she's just really lucky. So she's the blessed or the cursed because like death follows her, but also she's able to avoid death.
It's weird that she doesn't attempt to warn anyone. Now that you bring that up, though.
Yeah, so she's
especially
kind of
since
like
she knows.
Maybe maybe the story could have had like she tried in the past, but like as time went on, she just became more crotchety, and that's why she's kind of become more of like a crotchety old woman, like a misanthrope.
Oh, yeah.
Because she is like basically
she's like tired of people like not believing her.
Yeah, because like the way it's described at the beginning, it kind of just like I just kind of shrugged it off as like, oh, she's crotchety old woman that like only likes like a select amount of her grandkids, because like that's a thing that happens in real life. Like I've had like I know grandparents that were like hate everybody except for like a select circle of the family. Or I mean, she like they deep down love the family, but like they only like certain members of the family. Like they have favorites.
Certain ones.
Yeah, they have favorites. Mm-hmm. But like that's the thing. But like yeah, this would actually give an explanation as to like why she has favorites, and so it's because like or why she's so crotchety and like her mood otherwise. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's actually pretty interesting. Like that could be something that could be added to the story, I feel, or like explained. Like she like says in her story, like she tried to be a good person, but like no one really seemed to believe her and just gave her that nickname of her being the cursed or the blessed. And so that's why she just like hates everybody, or she doesn't care about like she's had to like basically she's basically been losing her humanity, like part of her humanity every time this happens. Or like she disassociates from humanity or from people.
Man, like, the fact that she has a nickname, kind of makes it feel like it doesn't really make sense that they wouldn't believe her. You know?
Well, no, it does. Like I don't know. Like, do you not? Have you never like? I know in my family we do kind of have a nickname for like a couple of relatives that are like not the really like the greatest. So like, or are kind of weird. So like that's sort of a like to me that makes sense. It's like there would be a nickname, although like especially like given that the family knows
the nickname. I'm saying that the nickname specifically is saying that death follows this person, or this person is extremely lucky. They always avoid every huge accident that happens. Yeah. So if that person goes around, if someone with that kind of like mystique and like aura about them or whatever, or goes around saying that, you would tend to believe them, considering they keep surviving all of these events. Like if someone is prophesizing all of these bad tragedies happening and they keep happening when they say they're going to happen, someone's going to start believing them.
I feel like you're sort of underestimating,
especially after over 106 years.
Yeah, over 100. Yeah, yes, but like again, how like did like maybe she might have start warning people early on, and like but then like stopped because like no one was believing her, so she kept quiet about that, so only the family really knows, or her friends, or like her immediate circle of people around her would know about that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like, it wouldn't have grown.
Yeah, we don't really know how wide spanned her like nickname is.
Yeah, I kind of just assumed it was like a family name kind of thing, or like something that friends and family kind of knew about her. Because it sounded like people like consider, oh, it's Cassandra the Blessed, and then like she's the one that corrects them. Actually, it's cursed, because like, but she never seems to like clarify why she means that or why she says that. And so like again, like that could be something that could be added to the story, is like, well, like this is what Cassandra like imparts on WTS, is that like the reason I keep correcting people that I'm the cursed, not the blessed, is because I've been seeing this creepy stranger all my life. And then she starts to go like really crazed the way she says it. But yeah. Yeah, some good ideas there to like perhaps like elaborate on the story a bit more. And then the next thing I have is, I think actually my last note here, actually. It helps to think that it is my duty to tell her story, as I was the only person to hear her last words she ever spoke, or to hear the last words she ever spoke, and to stop thinking that maybe that fateful that fateful night in her room, we weren't alone, and that those last words she uttered were not meant for me. And so as I finished this part of the story and like basically the end of the story, I was like, oh yeah, 100% that entity was probably in that room with them. Like, even like when I was reading the part where like she was telling him like to go home and like that it was her time, I was definitely getting the kind of the feeling it's like, oh, it's definitely in the room with her, like in the shadows somewhere. Like she's
it straight up says that she was staring like into the middle distance behind him.
Yeah. She was basically, it was behind him the whole time, and like she was just looking over his shoulder, kind of thing. Yeah.
So point saying it's right there because like no one ever sees it, and she knows that.
Yeah.
And she's not freaking out because she's been seeing it for like 80, 90 years.
Yeah, for sure. Also, like, yeah, it's like it's basically a buddy horror in a way.
Yeah,
it's
it
like,
is
like
technically
when your buddy is death or is a Reaper spirit, just like it's like, well, Cassandra, it's time to go. It's finally time to go. Break, chomp. Although, because it does say like the Rottweilers were the ones that like chomp like must have fed on her.
They're blaming the poor dog.
Yeah, they're blaming the dogs. Also, those like they never like explain what happened to those dogs afterward. But I guess like that's fine. Don't need to know about that. But yeah, like her neck broke, and then she got a bunch of chomps. But then like we did see earlier that like when the stranger got on the bus, he took a chomp down on the passenger next to him.
Oh, you're right.
So like that's where I think they were insinuating it could have been the dogs like getting hungry, or it was meant to be like that it was actually the stranger. Yeah. But yeah, yeah. But ultimately, again, this still has like a kind of the buddy horror theme of like this supernatural creature that's been like kind of been with the character all their life, associated with this horror that happens with this character. Like again, like they're defying death or avoiding death every chance they get, every time they see this entity. And so like this entity kind of is helping them like avert destruction, but it's also like the horror is also that it is you are avoiding this doom, but then that doom is still happening to some people that this thing gets to feed off of. So, but yeah, I did kind of like that. Like brought the like by the end, it was kind of it wrapped it all around with like that it was probably in the room that night when they were having that when she was imparting this knowledge to WTS and like told him to leave, and that she basically had accepted that like this was like it was her time now. Yeah. I mean, what a way to go! Going out with a bang on your birthday. It's like your birthday becomes your death day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's my actual thoughts for this one. So, Mikey, D stands for evil.
Well, I liked the premise. You have a person that dodges basically death.
Yeah.
Because that's been done before. It's a fun concept.
Yeah. We literally covered it last week.
Last week.
The part that I don't get, because it's not made clear, is why did the entity decide to show itself to her?
Yeah, that's true. Like
there didn't seem to be any death happening around her window.
Yeah, like
the first one, yeah.
Yeah, like there was not like because like she even got her dad to dig up that hole and there was nothing there. Like it could have been that like maybe there was like he dug up the hole and there was like a gas leak or something like that, and he died digging the hole or something like that. Like, because like there was like something on the property that was causing some kind of an illness or something. But like, no, it's just like he just like showed up like one day, kind of made himself known to her, and then left after digging the hole or digging this invisible hole that no one else could see except for her.
It's just like when he materializes, he needs to find a human to like witness him. So he literally just was making noise outside for the first person to hear him, and then like he links with that person by like jump scaring them, and then now he has like a link to like the earthly realm.
Yeah, or he could have been like kind of foretelling like when she was actually going to die all those years ago. It was like, you're going to die in this home. Like kind of, but like because he never says anything to her, but like so like maybe he can't communicate with her like with words, but he can do it like through like with gestures and stuff like that, and like kind of almost like a macabre charade. But
that's the real long con if that's what he was doing.
Yeah. Well, again, he might just be a reaper spirit that's just like, hey man, it's like, hey, so this is how you're gonna like. I know that you're going to be witness to a bunch of death and tragedy for the next for your next 100 years. So in that, so I'll just go be nice in my weird supernatural way. This is where you're gonna die.
Yeah. My problem is it's not really clear.
Yeah. It is sort of an odd one. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, every other instance he's there to kill someone.
Yeah.
Right. So
and no one died there.
Yeah. So yeah, that makes it sort of a.
Well, like
for me
yes,
anyway.
Yeah, because like I can see where you're coming from, because like even I'm like yeah, well, like why didn't that happen? But at the same time, I also can see that being kind of creepy, just like out of context, because like what are we not knowing? Like what are we not catching? It's sort of like that like fear of maybe not fear of the unknown specifically, but like that kind of out of context horror. Like we're not getting what it's trying to get across.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my main issue, I guess, with the story.
Okay.
That an entity that seems to be very close to death shows up and doesn't do anything death related other than dig a hole.
Listen, it's a spirit of the end. It's not good with intros. It's not good at beginnings. It's good at endings. Yeah, you're right.
But like if they wanted to tie it together, they could have had her buried in the yard or something.
Yeah, like that's where she's like in her will.
Where her father dug up years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, like that could be in her will and stuff like that. But that honestly probably should have been mentioned at the end, like when he's like talking about them, like she's been dead for a couple of weeks. We had the funeral. Oddly enough, it was in the spot on her property where she said the thing had dug a hole.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know that specifically.
Well, she told him that.
Yeah, she might have pointed out the window. He's right
so,
there where.
And actually,
Doug, yeah.
I could also even see that being like she was very like I could also see her being very reticent about like that spot and stuff like that. And then like in her old age, like as she's hit like 106, she's like, I'm gonna put this in my will. You know, I feel like I should just be buried there. Like I could see that kind of being like sort of a like something that the character would do later in life.
It's not like the creature choosing it through fate.
Well, the creature chose it, and then she accepted it. Like because that's kind of like she's been running from her destiny all her life, and now she's finally come to accept it. But yeah. My God, the story literally gave us a plot hole.
Yeah, an actual hole.
I just realized that. Yeah, like a literal plot hole.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's into my actual thoughts.
All right. Well, as we climb out of the 6-foot plot hole, Gamer.
Let's see, what haven't we touched on? This year, where it says, even at her age, she was very spry and independent. She didn't suffer fools gladly. So when I first read that, I thought that was a typo, but that is actually a saying, apparently, not put up with something.
Yep.
I've never heard that before, so I learned a thing.
Yeah, fair.
What were you going to say?
I did also. I remember reading that part and thinking it was kind of odd the way it was placed in the sentence, because like it was just like it. I think it's just that part as a small sentence, right? It's like
Yes.
It's like how like I understand that it's a good thing to put there, but like it feels like it should connect somehow to what was being said.
Yeah, it could just go at the end of the previous sentence, but I think it's tabbed down for emphasis.
Yeah. Again, to show like how crotchety she is.
Mm-hmm. Then my next note is basically how I forget who the guy was, had a semi-serious theory that Cassie was a localized quantum probability wave function singularity, that someone sucked up all the good luck around them. Nature would have them compensate by pushing all the bad luck on everyone else, filling the void and restoring equilibrium. Isn't that what I kind of did for my headcanon of the previous episode? That it wasn't said, but that's kind of what I thought was happening. Like she was inadvertently causing that, even though the story does not say that at all.
That's exactly what you came up with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the guy's name was Steve.
Right. Oh, that was the Steve.
Yeah, Steve from Cracks and Bones.
Accounting.
Yeah. Steve from accounting. No, he's the one that was like the psychology major.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was just kind of funny, like reading through the story. It's like I'm getting the premise of the story. It's like, okay, this is the same as last week, and then it gets to this part. It's like, okay, that's the headcanon that I came up with last week. What's going on here?
And now Steve looks like what Gamer looks like. It's underneath the mask. It's just like, I am Steve.
It was always Steve. And no, that does not mean I look like Jack Black. He plays Steve in the Minecraft movie.
Yeah, that's the thank you for getting the reference. I was going, it's like, I am Steve.
Then my only other note, honestly, is it says, as I blew the candles and made my birthday wish, I joked that all I wanted was for her secret to long life. She looked at me with sad, serious eyes while everyone else laughed. When I first read that, I was like, oh no, what if his wish coming true happens, but doing so takes the gift of long life away from her? So she would have lived longer if he didn't wish to know, but now that he knows, he has the gift of long life, but he literally killed her by doing so.
Yeah, like it's like basically like the blessing / curse of the Guardian gets transferred.
Especially since like it was said that she died soon after that party, and then he wishes to know about her long life like that night. So it kind of seems like he killed her.
I know. Well, again, like not like like it's in the same way that like she killed all those people by avoiding disaster. Yeah,
quote unquote killed.
Yeah, like I was definitely thinking like there was gonna be a scene at the end like where he like I thought I felt like eyes staring at me when she stared behind me, like behind me or something. like that it was like watching him now, and that he was going to be the next chosen of the Guardian. But it doesn't seem like it. I mean, maybe we haven't gotten another story where like the Guardian shows up again, or like he's starting to like see it now, but. It could be part of expanding the WTS's MCU or like cinematic universe. Remember, like I think early, like about halfway through these stories, we were kind of caught that this is like almost creating its own like cinematic universe of characters.
At the end of this, the amount of stuff that happens to him or around him, he might just like have a bunch of like creepy stuff happening to him simultaneously.
Yeah, and then he has to like rally in like all the people that all the surviving characters that have like had weird shit or from these stories. and then the last story is just like, well, guys, I don't know about you, but after all this, I won't think straight. Credits.
Wow.
Maybe won't think straight. We're the friends we learned along the way. It's like that. I don't know if you guys like seen a bunch of stuff for like the Arcane show. But like there's I know there's been some memes of like the the Arcane show was gonna end with like the characters like, what are we? Some kind of League of Legends?
Yeah. I've actually been wanting to watch that show.
It's good. Be prepared to cry.
Okay.
Like be prepared to have your heartstrings pulled.
That's usually a good sign, though. Like, it means they care and know about storytelling. Regardless,
Yeah,
unrelated to the story we're talking about now completely.
But we digress.
Right, where are all my notes? That was my last note. Final thoughts time.
All right, final thoughts. Bam. And then we can go back to Arcade. And then we can go to watch Arcade.
Great.
No. So yeah, final thoughts. Yeah, I'm still going to recommend this. It's a bit sad. Like it actually had like kind of a through line of like not just because of the tragedies of the deaths that were happening, but also just this like have like I don't know, like the sadness of like a grandson and and his grandmother, the passing of a torch sort of thing, or like the imparting of knowledge from like from an older generation to a newer generation, and it had like a bittersweetness to it, while also having this creepy underlying aspect of recognition and discovery of actual tragic events and like how deep the rabbit hole went. Because like as I was like reading the story and like getting these different like near death experiences for Cassandra, and then like I would like look up those events like, oh shit, that's a real one. Are these all real like deaths that have happened in the in history? They were like, and then even like the last one, like the bus, the last one that was mentioned was which was the bus getting hit by the Santa Fe mail train. Like literally there is an article that's archived by New York Times during that year in, I think it's in August or April, where like a Santa Fe mail train like strikes a bus, killing 21 people. It's like, Jesus, that's a deep cut. So it kind of left me with that kind of like creepy dread underlying tone of like all these events are actually like are real outside of the story. But again, it doesn't play with those events in a disrespectful way. It just uses that this character avoided those deaths, which I think is fine when it comes to telling those kind of telling a creepypasta with some real life events like connected in. Because again, it adds that level of
tasteful way to add real life death to a creepy story.
No, that's absolutely right. Yeah, like it's a tasteful way of adding realism to your creepy story. And it does kind of add an impact because, like, again, these are real events that are connected to the real world, but the story we are reading is fiction. Otherwise, it's sort of like in Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump kind of like navigates through all these real life events, and they even like incorporated that by comping the character into footage from those from those events. Like when he goes to like shake hands with JFK, in the movie, like it's that kind of level of like fiction mixing with history or with reality, but like in a respectful way that doesn't like trample on the real life tragedy or the real life like facets. All this to say is like I did enjoy it. I will recommend it, and it was a bittersweet, creepy story by the end. So, Mikey, these stands for evil.
Well, like I said in my thoughts, I like the premise of being able to avoid death. In fact, what's that movie franchise?
Final Destination?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, the one that we referenced last week.
Yeah. I enjoyed those movies.
I'm to be honest, I don't think I've ever fully watched one of them. I think I've just seen like kill scenes in those movies. Like
just important parts, right?
I know the plot, like the plot skeleton of the movies, and I know the kills. but I've never actually sat down and watched a full movie of them.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah. So like I said, the key point for me is, why did the entity choose her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, every other instance of the entity, he's there because people are about to die. But when he first shows up, nobody dies.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of like, now that you brought that up, that's why I theorized that was just the day he showed up, and he had to make a mortal connection to be able to teleport back to this world, and he chose this young girl because she's young and she has lots of years left in her. Yeah, especially if he keeps her alive.
Yeah, like we as readers came up with like our own stuff, but I think that's probably what the story wanted to do, is just have us come up to our own conclusions as to why it showed up with that story scene. But like, you could also just have like you could also come up with your own thing for the story.
Yeah,
it would be nice if the story said it for sure.
Yeah. So I'm still only going to give this a partial recommendation.
Okay. Then Gamer.
Well, for me, for what this is, it does its job well. The story being told feels genuine. Like, there aren't any head-scratching moments. The grammar's good. I didn't see any grammar problems. I somehow read over all of those.
You say all of those, but I only found like 3. Like one accidentally while going into my actual thoughts. So
more than 2 is all, because it would be more than a couple of those, few of those. I guess all would be 4. Doesn't matter. Even though but yeah, either way, it was good. Even after literally just reading the same premise of a story, I still enjoyed reading this, which says a lot. Because I should have been like, this again? Like, I just read this, but I wasn't bored. Because it had interesting, believable characters and all that.
Yeah, I feel like this was like, again, outside of the real life like events that were that are mentioned in this. This felt very grounded.
Yeah, for sure.
Like just the genuine like familial interaction with like a grandson and their great grandmother kind of stuff.
All that being said, though, Mikey brought up some good points about how the introduction scene didn't really make a whole lot of sense, and I feel like there should be more closure at the end of it as well, like connecting her to that first scene.
Yeah, I like have her again, like have it be that she was buried in that plot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
something like that. So I do feel it needs a little more, but what's here is really good, and it does this sort of story justice quite well. Yeah. So I'm going to change to a partial, because it needs a little work just in the intro and outro, but it's good. It's still a good read. It just needs a small amount of work.
I also just realized this is now I think this is the second story within the WTS series that has something being buried or dug up, like a hole being dug, that is like kind of like has like is at the beginning and could have been at the end of this one, like because the last one was like the other one I'm mentioning is referencing is the time capsule. That the girl found, that like where she like kind of like shifted between realities. Yeah. Like it could have been the same. It almost like felt like it could have been the same or same themes that were pulled into this one, but just in this one, it's more of like a the whole is a finality rather than a shift.
Yes.
But I guess that's all you guys say. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, no, I this one, like again, this one was a bit more of a thought provoker than I think some of them have been. So, yeah, that'll do it for this week's episode. So, a recommendation and 2 partial recommendations, but like I think we all enjoyed the story, but like there is room for improvement.
Yeah,
I think that's the general consensus.
Yep, at least for me.
Yeah, Mike, you're being very quiet.
Yep.
Wait, was that nope?
No.
Okay.
There's a yep.
Okay. Well, that's it for tonight. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below. Whether this gets posted, whether this gets posted,
Whether it gets posted at all, I mean, it's quite a shit show.
It's pretty short. I mean, it's like under an hour long.
Yeah.
If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted. We're all on Twitter, kinda. Mikey's at the E stands for evil. The Gamer Nail's at the Gamer Nail without that W at the end. His name is very long, and he's barely on there.
No, I'm really not.
But I'm at Review Cultist, and I'm always on Twitter. Terminally on Twitter. I'm also on Blue Sky, so you can send me messages there. And you can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com, where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah. And if you'd like to help support our show financially, go to Patreon. Select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have special episodes, early access, and extra content. To all our patrons helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely. Because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, without these stories that you create and post online for people to enjoy and read, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the East End Travel.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.